You're listening to the Snob OS podcast, the podcast for Apple snobs. Hey, this is Nica Montford, aka Tech Savvy Diva.
And yo, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech.
And welcome to the Snob OS show, the show for Apple snobs where we talk all things Apple and then some. Welcome back to this week's show. We definitely want to thank you for tuning in and for your continued support. On this week's show, we talk about, is the desktop even really needed anymore? Also, Apple gets hit with a huge financial judgment in the long-running Apple Watch case. Also, we talk about the new N1 chip in the iPhone 17 and what the comparison and speed tests look like. Also, another major cloud service goes down this morning and had folks scrambling. And in For the Culture, we're going to talk about Pharrell Williams. He's not so happy anymore. And finally, we're going to round out with our tech tip of the week, where we're going to talk a little bit about Apple Card and some of the new cash back benefits. Again, you can listen and or watch our show. You can rate and review us all on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Finally, if you want to become a patron of the show to get some exclusive content and to be able to watch the show live, you can head on over to patreon.com/snobwestcast to find out all of those details. And with that, we're going to go ahead and jump into this week's show. We're going to kick it off with the lowdown where we talk all things Apple. So first up, there's this interesting article that has come out from Mark Gurman, well-known Mark Gurman of Bloomberg, who's basically reporting that Apple has killed off the Mac Pro, which is the tower machine that kind of has like the cheese grate looking sides. Mm-hmm. And according to Mark, it seems as if Apple has decided that the Mac Studio is pretty much good enough to be a desktop and to replace those large MacBook Pro, those Mac Pro towers. So we've talked about it a number of times, you know, the conversation between, do you really need a laptop if you have an iPad? But we haven't really talked that much about Apple's desktop. Do you think that we can shelve the desktop now? That the when we talk about the Mac Studio, we're talking about the Mac Minis. Do you think that is good enough at this point to replace the Mac Pros, the big towers that super users use? Now with the advancements of all the M1 chips, all the Apple Silicon chips, do you think that they can finally kind of write off this Mac Pro?
Well, it's not necessarily a question to me for Apple. Do we need desktops? The answer to that is yes, you do need a desktop. The question is, do we need that ridiculously high-priced, fancy Mac Pro that Apple hardly sells? Mm-hmm. According to this story, the Mac Pro sells in such low volume that the cost to develop it isn't worth it. Apple is a business. The Mac Pro is cute, but not practical from a mass created, or what's the word? Mass developed or mass
produced.
Mass produced is the word I was looking for. It's cute, but it's not worth the production that it would take to push those things out the door. So Apple is finally just saying, you know, it was a good run. We try to keep up the old name, but the Mac Pro is no more because, like you were alluding to, the Studio Mac Mini Studio is enough. It's a little cube that sits on your desk. It's got all the power that pretty much most people need. And if you need more, then buy two. And you're still coming out cheaper than the Mac Pro, right? So for all those reasons, Apple is finally just saying, you know what? We were avoiding the inevitable for so long. Now it's time to go ahead and sunset the Mac Pro. But we're not getting rid of desktops. We're just getting rid of the Mac Pro. We'll still have the Mac Mini. will still have the studio, the Max Mini Studio, I think is the name of it. So that's enough for them.
Yeah, I think so too. I think in the age where everybody has to be so nimble and agile and able to move around, I have a Mac Mini that's sitting on my desk. I rarely use it, but it's the original version. It's not one of the new Apple Silicon versions, but it's super small, super compact, and it got a lot done. I pretty much got that thing for when I was in grad school. I needed something with a little bit more power outside of my laptop to do some of the high computing stuff. But yeah, I think it's just one of those nostalgia things where, everybody knows it is, it's iconic, it's famous, it's so well known that I guess it seems to be a shock to some people, but at the same time, is it really? It shouldn't be, right?
I don't think it's a shock to anybody. People are probably just bummed that the word Mac Pro will be non-existent. But as far as people clamoring to or petitioning Apple to keep it, or hoarding all of their, going out and buying all the Mac Pros so they can hoard them or whatever the case may be, nobody's doing that. Nobody cares.
Yeah. And I think I'm interested to see, because I know they have like the gaming towers, typically PCs. I know my nephew has one. He wanted one for Christmas. I think he got it last Christmas. And some of the other desktop makers, they are still using the tower. I wonder if people are going to start to go the compact route and not go with these huge kind of clunky looking.
No, they like them because you can customize them. You can add colors. It's almost like
lights.
Yes, it's almost like a car.
Yeah.
You can go to A to B in any car. Why you got to get one with the low profile rims, and why you got to get one with the tinted windows, and why you got to get one with the sound system, because that's what people like to do.
Yeah.
Same thing with the PCs. It's not even, maybe a majority, 70% of it is functionality, but most of it is, look at my cool
style
rig. Look at my
Yeah.
cool rig. Look at my cool setup. So people are still going to do that. Now, you can't do that with a Mac. Maybe that's why they ain't here no more.
Maybe. Because I know Aiden's, it's got the lights on the inside is clear. Then he has like the keyboard that lights up too, and the mouse, and it's just like a whole thing. Even though he's a gamer, he has, what is it, the PS5? I think he has an Xbox too. So I'm like, why do you even, do you even PC game that much? And he was like, well, I got this cool, like my aunt got him a steering wheel and a gear shift and a pedal, and they said you could use it with the Xbox. I mean, with the PlayStation, we tried it, never worked. And so that's why I think they got the gaming PC strictly so he could drive with the things. But I think it's very much stylistic, and it looks cool. And Apple's like, nope, you're getting this silver tower that looks like a cheese grater, and that's what you get. Next up, we've talked about this before. I think earlier this year, we talked about Apple and Massimino? I think Massimo. We're going to go with that, which is the company that is suing Apple. And I want to say, when we talked about this earlier, it seemed like Apple was making some progress to towards winning. I think they won some sort of ruling. I went back to try and find it and I couldn't. I was like, you know what, whatever, don't really need it. But all that to say, where we thought Apple was making some progress in this case, they finally got the verdict back from this case. I think this case has been going since 2001 or something like that. But Apple now has to pay, the judgment is for $634 million in this battle of the blood oxygen sensor. So what they're saying is the patent on this was, I think there are a couple of different patents that they said, and then they fought Apple on that. Apple won that on these patent violations. That wasn't it. So what it comes down to, the reason why they were awarded this money is, so Massimo, they are a patient device company. And the question was, Is the Apple Watch a patient monitor, which is essentially what this company creates? Apple says, no, we don't consistently monitor this. This only kicks in after 10 minutes of a person not moving. And so that was the crux of the question. Is this wearable device, the Apple Watch, is it considered a patient monitor? The jury said yes. And so now the courts have ruled that Apple has to pay $634 million. I personally don't think they'll see a dime of this money. I think Apple's going to stretch this out because originally I think Apple was only willing to pay like $3 to $6 million because it affected about, what does the article say? 43 million Apple Watches sold between 2020 and 2022. So with all that being said, and the question being, is the Apple Watch a patient monitor? I guess two questions. Do you, I guess, agree with that assertion from the jury? And two, do you think that Apple is just going to appeal this until it just runs out even more years so they don't have to pay it?
Apple shot itself in the foot with the Apple Watch because of all the features and all the health things that the Apple Watch does. Apple has repeatedly look at all the health benefits of the Apple Watch. It monitors this, it tracks that, it does this and that and the third, right? They have always FDA approval pending, right? So when you say FDA approval pending, then that is something more than just, hey, a cool alert that I get on my watch when my heart is beating too fast, right? Or my blood pressure is astronomically strange, right? It'd be one thing if Apple was like, health stuff, I mean, that's cool, but we really don't see Apple Watch as a health device. Apple pushed the Apple Watch as a health device with all the things that it monitors. So as a result, I think it was very easy for the jury to categorize the Apple Watch as a patient monitoring device because of all the features that Apple has promoted for the Apple Watch. Now, as far as Massimo getting any of this money, you'll have to decide whether Apple wants to keep going at this or do they just want to pay them this little funky money and go on about their business. Again, $634 million is no chump change to me, but to Apple, which is almost a $3 trillion company, they can afford to just write this thing and say, we disagree. We categorically did not, disagree that the Apple Watch is a health device or whatever, but, we want to make sure all of these features are available for users and we don't want the features tied up in the court. So we're just going to go ahead and go on about our business. I want to believe that Apple, that has been fighting this for like the past 3 years almost, I think they're ready to just go ahead and move on,
Well, according to Apple's statement, I think they would disagree. Apple statement on the verdict from Friday, quote, "We disagree with today's decision, which we believe is contrary to the facts. Massimo is a medical device company that does not sell any products to consumers.
Right.
Over the past 6 years, they have sued Apple in multiple courts and asserted over 25 patents, the majority of which have been found invalid. The single patent in this case expired in 2022 and is specific to historic patient monitoring technology from decades ago." So it sounds to me as they're like, no, we're not paying this.
Well, they didn't say they weren't paying it. They're just saying they're disagreeing that the Apple Watch category, it should be categorized as this patent, this monitoring technology, because they don't want to be lumped in that category. Because if they do, then that falls right in the line with what Massimo's patents are for. Again, you don't have to sell a product to consumers for you to have a patent on a technology, right?
Right.
You or I could come up with a cool way to do something and patent it and never put it in any product and wait, because that's what people do. Now that is
So they can sell
unfair.
it.
That is unfair that people
Yeah.
create patents and they just wait for somebody like Apple to come by and use it, well, Apple don't use it. You never see in that disagree. You never see the Apple says we did not take their patent. What
Mm.
Apple is saying is the patent should be invalid because Massimo don't sell nothing, and the patent is for decades old technology. That don't make it. That don't mean you can't use it. You still kind of not use it. So so I see Apple like disagreeing with this,
Uh,
but it's like you ain't right, but you ain't wrong, but you ain't right type deal, to where it's like, Apple, come on, y'all know y'all stole them people's patent and was trying to use the fact that, oh, the patent's old, or, oh, they never made nothing with it. That ain't no
mm.
excuse. It's still their patent.
Very true. So they appealed there in that statement I just read.
Mhm.
They wrote that in their appeal. So they're going to appeal the judgment. So we'll see. They'll probably tie this up another couple years with the appeals court process. See if the verdict for the amount gets adjusted, or if they just have to come up off that money and activate this the blood oxygen monitor that we all have in our watches. Because I did a little research, and this goes back to the Series 6 version of the Apple Watch. So it's been going on for a minute, and I think if they go ahead and pay this money, then they'll be able to turn this feature on and go on about their business. So we'll see if Apple acquiesces and give them this money, or say, nope, we're going to hold out a little bit longer because guess what? We can. And that may just be the petty in them to say, yeah, we're going to pay them, but we're going to make them sweat a little bit because, of course, this company doesn't have nearly as much money as Apple does. And maybe they want to try and bleed them dry a little bit more. But I guess with all things, time will tell. Rounding out the lowdown, neither one of us, we talked about this before, got the Apple Watch. I mean, not the Apple Watch, the iPhone 17. The only thing I know, I only got the AirPods Pro 3 from the All Dropping event, and neither one of us upgraded the phone. Well, it seems like one of the things that were included in the iPhone 17, it got talked about, but I don't think nearly enough. But there is a new in-one wireless chip that's built into the iPhone 17 line of phones that is basically a booster for Wi-Fi speed. So obviously when this new chip was announced, the phone launched, people started doing their benchmark testing to see how much faster it really is. Is it really that much faster? Is this really a value to get the new iPhone 17? Well, according to Ookla, I'm assuming that's how you pronounce that. That's how I'm saying it. They did some speed tests, and apparently the iPhone 17 is pulling 40% faster download speeds than the iPhone 16. So with this knowledge of the increase in Wi-Fi speeds, does this change your mind on, you picking up the iPhone 17 or not?
No, because you have to have the infrastructure to support the whatever the technology is behind this in one wireless chip. And if you've got an old funky router in your house that ain't compatible with in one or whatever the latest Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 6E, whatever that is, Wi-Fi 7, right? If you ain't got no router to support it, it don't matter, right? I don't think too many people bought an iPhone 17 and said, "Oh shoot, it's got this Wi-Fi 7. Let me go upgrade my whole Wi-Fi network at home as well." Nobody did that. So while iPhone 17 does boost 40% faster Wi-Fi speeds, which is a lot faster,
Yeah.
only if you can take advantage of it. And I'm pretty sure Starbucks ain't up they wireless technology,
Their public Wi-Fi.
right, to take advantage for the few people who may come in with an iPhone 17.
Yeah, I think the thing is you can have this all set up in your home, or even if you decide to upgrade, because people always want faster Wi-Fi speeds. When you go somewhere else, you're not going to get the benefit. You're only going to get the benefit, one, in your in-home setup if you've already set it up, and two, if you go somewhere else that has the same type of setup. But I will say, I do think what we've seen in this in-one chip and the capability, I think going forward, it's one of those things where, as things develop and it kind of cycles through, it kind of sets certain spaces up to like, you know what, let's up our game to be able to benefit from this type of chip. And I think it's, again, Apple setting the stage of saying, this is what we can do with our first iteration of this chip. And if people start buying these phones because of this chip, people who are, whether you're at work, whether you're at businesses or whatever the case may be, if people start buying these phones and start basically creating the demand for it in these outside businesses, then I think it'll eventually catch up. I think Apple is kind of starting at their base level. And then as in 2, in 3, in 4, just like with everything else that is incrementally increased, the demand for the supply based on the customer. If the customer says, I have this phone, you can't support it, I'm not going to come to your business, I'm not going to do this, that, and the third. It's one of those things where it's going to have to eventually force people to kind of say, okay, fine, we'll come along. How long that's going to take,
Right.
I don't know.
And then by the time there'll be an N5
right,
wireless chip out. So it's kind of like not necessarily a moot point, but yes, Apple is right, or Apple is carrying on tradition at putting the best modems and the best Wi-Fi and the best batteries and the best whatever in their phones,
right.
As a selling point. Right now, are people going to buy it because it boasts faster Wi-Fi speeds? Yes. Will people be able to take advantage of those Wi-Fi speeds? Then, that, again, like I mentioned, you'll have to do an overhaul of your Wi-Fi network as well as businesses that, where you typically, patron and use their Wi-Fi, ain't gonna be no difference. So I guess the question is like, how many people are buying the iPhone 17 just because it has this faster Wi-Fi? My guess is not a lot.
Or people who don't pay attention to the fine print. They just see, oh, it's 40% faster. Yes, I want that, without recognizing the other things that kind of go into it to be able to use it. So
gotta have the infrastructure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's going to wrap up the lowdown. Let's head on over into Second String, where we talk all other tech. All right, I don't know if anybody this morning got up and tried to use ChatGPT, tried to get on Twitter, tried to call an Uber. Well, if you did, you would have noticed that something was amiss. Just about a month ago, AWS went down and it disabled the function of a ton of companies because AWS is one of the primary purveyors of cloud services and web-based infrastructure. And we talked about it. It was like, why are all these companies just using one service? Why don't they have redundancy? Why don't they have a backup? What are they doing? And like I said, another went down today, and that happened to be Cloudflare. And again, like I said, it affected Twitter, ChatGPT, Shopify, Uber, and about 20% of the entire web. 20% of the entire internet was down because of this issue. The company blamed it on a, quote, spike in unusual traffic. And I'm not sure what unusual traffic is going on at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Well, they say the root cause of the outage was a configuration file that is automatically generated to manage threat traffic. The file grew beyond an expected size of entries and triggered a crash in the software system that handles traffic for a number of Cloudflare's services.
Do you think we're going to hear in the next couple of months, oh, there was a major cyber attack, and this is just going to be what they're saying now is just a spike in the traffic and it was a configuration issue? My money is on probably in a couple months we're going to hear about a huge cyber attack, and that cyber attack I think is going to be linked to this. But again, the outage lasted from about 5:20 a.m. Eastern Standard Time through noon. So that's pretty much half the day for most businesses. And again, like I said, Twitter, ChatGPT, Shopify, Indeed, Claude. So that's two of your major chatbots that were affected by this. Truth Social, who cares? I don't know what League of Legends is. I'm assuming it's some sort of game.
Yeah.
And this article mentions McDonald's self-service ordering system was affected by this as well. So this is now the third major cloud outage in about a month. I mentioned Amazon last month. Microsoft's Azure also had an outage last month as well. And now we have Cloudflare in November. So I think what this says is that our infrastructure on the web, on the internet, is very fragile and can be easily taken down by merely, in this case, they're saying it's a traffic issue. All someone has to do on a cyber attack is flood a specific service. And if it takes down one of these, and if it's a coordinated attack that's on a large scale, if you're thinking, cyber terrorism, they could do this and take down all three major cloud providers. And then we are royally screwed.
Well, it would have to be catastrophic for us to be screwed. Now, inconvenienced, absolutely. Maybe some businesses, can't make money, for a couple days, sure. But I definitely think that in our future, in our lifetime, we will see a coordinated, specific cyber warfare event.
Yeah.
That will inconvenience us for a long amount of time, right? By the time we found this, it was back up. By the time you listen to this, nobody's going to care, right? But we haven't hit like a major outage that took down the entire internet for days. Not like,
what was the CrowdStrike? But didn't CrowdStrike take down like
that took
airports?
But it was quick, right? It was like a day or two at the longest. I'm talking about like 5 and 6 days, to where companies are kind of like, we literally cannot get any work done, right? There hasn't been one of those yet. I believe that we will have one of those in our life in the next 5 years.
Yeah,
I'd say we'll have a major attack to where somebody will say, "Hey, we did that. We took responsibility. Be ready. There'll be some more coming." And hopefully, I hate to bear bad news, but I feel like we need one, because these companies, while claiming they have redundancies, clearly they don't, because 1 or 5 of these major companies control like 100% of the traffic.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't even, logically speaking, that's stupid.
Yeah.
But we don't care because ain't nothing happened yet.
And I wonder, put my little tinfoil hat on. I truly believe that some of these instances of these services going down, I think they're test runs. I think whomever, if there's a bad actor participating in this, I think it's like a test run to see just how far they can push it and, what services are impacted. And it's almost like, because you don't know specifically which business uses what and to what extent, if it's kind of like some sort of mapping thing to say, okay, we're going to inject this into, AWS and we'll see who goes down. We'll inject this into Cloudflare to see who goes down. We'll inject this into Microsoft Azure and see what goes down, just to kind of start to get like a decent grip on who uses what and in what capacity. Because a lot of times on this cyber warfare, this cyber terrorism, it's not a short game. A lot of these people are playing the long game and are willing to kind of wait it out so that they can do the most damage and make the most impact when they're ready to finally, blow the lid off it, so to speak. So I really, out of all of this, because things happen, issues happen. That's the nature of the beast. But I just really hope that a lot of these companies are ensuring that they have backup systems, that they have protocols. What is it? Is it called a red book? I'm not quite remembering my cybersecurity stuff, but basically your handbook on what to do when XYZ happens, their playbook on what needs to happen or what you need to do in these different events, whether it's a cyber attack, whether it's ransomware, or any of the things that are kind of in that domain. I just hope that these companies are prepared and have tested and have validated these systems and are continuously updating and ensuring that they are in the best position to be able to come back up after an attack.
The only way they can avoid it if there's no bottlenecks, right? If Cloudflare is managing or whatever they do, a large majority of the internet traffic in general, all you got to do is hit Cloudflare. If we're Snob Boys podcast and we've got our redundancies and we've got our backups and we've got our whatever the case may be, and Cloudflare goes down, ain't no other Cloudflare. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like there needs to be competition in the services for the sole purpose of, if one of them goes down, you can migrate or move or flip the switch to stand it up on the competitor or whatever the case may be. If there ain't no competitor and everybody's just like, well, Cloudflare, you got it. AWS, you got it. And everybody just signs up, because Amazon and Cloudflare say we're safe. Well, if they ain't, then what you gonna do? You ain't thought about, because you don't have to. There's no regulations. There's nothing saying companies have to use AWS and Azure and Google. It's just like they get to pick and choose with important systems, and everybody's kind of like, well, let me just cross our fingers and hope that this major player, right? You know what I'm saying? Because they're not forced to what's the word? They're not forced to deregulate, I guess. I don't know. I can't think of a better word, but they're not forced to use multiple services,
right?
Multiple companies for the same service, right? Because
it all boils down to money too. A lot of these companies want to do this as cheaply as possible, which is mind blowing to me, because this is the base of your business, but you're willing to go, basically the cheapest route to keep the most money in your shareholders' hand, in your CEO's hand, and not really kind of, I guess, shell out the money that you need for
and like I said,
this type of stuff.
And maybe money is a thing. I definitely agree that people will do the least amount of possible, right? Mm-hmm. But if government says, hey, for every 1,000 users, you have to have a different service, whatever the service that is, right. Whether it's cloud or networking or whatever the case may, DNS, whatever it is, some sort of regulation needs to be for every X amount of users, you have to utilize a different service or whatever the case may be. And that would literally force companies to use multiple services. So in the event of an attack, you're only losing those 1,000 users. The rest of the million users are cool until you can figure out how to get them people back. But right now, it goes down, all the users are gone.
The lobbyists are fighting that hard, I'm sure.
Of course they are.
So we're just out here on a wing and a prayer, man. Just hoping that it doesn't go down. But we've seen that it went down, because I know this morning when I logged on to Twitter, I thought Twitter was broken, because I don't know when the last time I updated that app. I refused to. So I figured, I was like, oh, well, they finally probably got me. I'm finally probably out of warranty, out of the right versioning. But then to see that it was a Cloudflare outage, I was like, oh, interesting.
This ain't the first time Cloudflare's been down either.
No.
So I would
No.
assume, why are they still, I mean, you can't avoid going an outage,
Right.
but knowing that you can't avoid an outage, what are you doing to mitigate,
Yeah.
to limit the
Yeah.
impact of an outage versus just sending out messages and saying, "Oh, the root cause was a so and so and so and so. Be patient." You know,
Yeah. And in their mind, having it fixed in what, 6 hours is good for them. But in that time, people, especially if you look at something like a Shopify, where it's a lot of small businesses, it's one of those things where it's like those businesses
and
aren't making money
and it's
those
the
6 hours.
holidays coming up.
Yeah.
Also,
Black Friday deals, people
mhm,
are, of course, they've already started putting those out. People are missing out on money.
potentially.
Yep. All right, let's head into For the Culture, where we talk about what's going on around us. Pharrell Williams is on the hot seat. He is half member of NERD. He's a super producer. He is the creative director at Louis Vuitton right now. Everybody knows, I think he has other clothing lines, hands, and a bunch of different stuff. And according to him, he made, he was giving, he was on a panel at the fifth annual Black Ambition Demo Day. And basically, this is a, I guess, conference or meeting of something for Black entrepreneurs. And it was held in Miami on Friday. So he goes on to this panel. They're interviewing him. And in the past, he's talked about, politics isn't, quote, not real, but instead it's a, quote, magic trick. And it's put in place to create division. He doesn't basically believe in the political parties because all it does is divide people and, all these things. And he doesn't believe in either side because they're about the same, division, blah, 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 blah. But I think one of the things that really got people talking about him is he's basically saying, he said to the crowd, quote, "Do you want the job because you're Black or because you're the best?" And he's basically saying that, we need to have, we being Black people, because this is at a Black conference, we need to have ambition. We can't just be getting things solely based on the skin of the color of your skin. And I say poo poo to all that because we've seen what the political parties and what the government can do. I also poo poo the idea of all you need is ambition to be successful. That's been proven categorically false. And, the question is, what if you are Black and you are the best, but you still don't get the opportunities? What do you say to that? And I don't know if we've gotten to a point where celebrity culture or celebrity influence is one of those things where they are so far outside of, the everyday of what people kind of go through because they're extremely wealthy, they're extremely privileged, and it's very easy to be a very rich, wealthy, privileged person to say, oh, well, yeah, all you need to do is just have some more ambition about yourself and all the other things will come into play. And it's like, you grew up in Virginia. Virginia's, I consider it a southern state, and things couldn't have possibly been easy for you on your rise
Or
up.
maybe they could. But see, I I don't know nothing about Pharrell Williams outside of the music that he makes and
Uh-huh.
these latest comments, right?
Uh-huh.
I don't get the impression that Pharrell had it hard growing up. I don't get the impression that he struggled in high school or college or out in these streets. My impression of Pharrell Williams is he's always been well off and has always, and as a result, has been, again, this is my impression, had and always been shielded by what's going on in the Black community as a whole, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about as a whole, I'm talking about as it relates to Black Lives Matter,
Mm-hmm.
as it relates to um, DEI, as it relates to, all the things that Black people as a whole have been pushing against, because we see the effects
Mm-hmm.
of Black Lives Matter. We see the effects of DEI in our daily lives. Fred don't see that. He is speaking from a place of privilege. He's speaking from his own perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And what most people do is they use their own perspective to paint a larger picture of the matter as a whole. So
Mm-hmm.
for Pharrell to say politics is a magic trick, he ain't never been affected by politics. Even though politics is in everything, he has made enough money, got enough influence to where, regardless if you're a Democrat or Republican, he can say, it really don't affect me that much, right?
Right.
The problem with that is the people who listen to his music, the people who are fans of his,
People at this conference.
Black folks in general
Yeah.
are affected by these things. And for him to use his own perspective, which is fair. I mean, people are going to speak from their own perspectives all the time, but your audience d- doesn't share your upbringing, doesn't share your current situation.
Mm-hmm.
And we are more directly affected, or the audience at this, who was in the crowd, is more affected by this stuff than Pharrell believes. Because,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm just gonna say it, he's out of touch.
Yeah.
And that is not specific to him. So I'm not saying this is a, shame on you, Pharrell Williams.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of rich, influential, powerful people who have either struggled and now succeeded, or was always kind of cool.
Yeah.
They are in a whole different level, right? So the things that don't affect us, I mean, the things that affect us may not affect them and their circle, right? His mom is straight. I'm pretty sure his parents are straight. His brothers and sisters and
Siblings. Yeah.
cousins and his people, everybody around him is straight. All the people he works with, as far as, music and, like you said, he's the the creative director at where?
Louis Vuitton.
Come on now. Come on now. You that high,
Yeah.
you run with some people who ain't affected
Yeah.
by this stuff. And that rubs off on you.
Yeah.
So, he's coming from his perspective. He's coming from his own current situation. And this is that how he feels about it. Unfortunately, he's talking to the wrong crowd.
Yeah. So I did do a little background on him. His parents, his mom was a teacher, his dad was a handyman, grew up in the 70s, 80s. And I think he's so far removed from where he started to where he is now.
Sure.
And I think my issue is you're speaking on this panel to Black entrepreneurs, those who are trying to either get into entrepreneurship or step up their game to go to the next level in their business. And saying things to me like this, it really, and it's not just him, when other celebrities or people who won't be touched if the market was to take now, they have enough money put away, they have things set aside, they don't have to worry about being laid off or a health a medical issue bankrupting them, and to have the hubris to be able to say these things and be like, and to yell out to the crowd, hey, you guys, you want to get your job or get your place, not because of your skin, but because you're the best, right? And of course, the people in the audience like, that's right. And it's one of those things where it's not as simple as having the ambition. We've seen throughout history that the amount of people who are Black and brown and marginalized, who are the best, who have been the best, who've done the things, whether it's had those things stolen, had those things not get the type of visibility that other people have. And I just think it just does a disservice when someone who people hold in too high regard come out and frankly are dismissive of the issues that people have when it comes to DEI, when it comes to discrimination, when it comes to not getting, experience, getting advancements or getting the props or the money that you deserve because of your skill and your talent. And to me, it just really, when you try to dumb it down to a magic trick, the people who are currently in North Carolina who have kept 20% of their kids home from school because ICE is there, you can't tell them that this is a magic trick. You can't tell people who can't buy groceries because they don't have STEP benefits that it's, a magic trick. It's real life for them. And when you have somebody and you're this far removed from situations like this, and you can just flippantly, or even if he was genuine, say these things like this, it affects millions and millions of people worldwide. And it's just unfortunate that he chose to express it this way, or that he thinks this way and thinks that it doesn't really affect people every day.
Right. And that's the thing, right? I would have no problem with Pharrell say that stuff don't affect me. Right. Even though we know that's not true.
Right.
For him to say, oh, my ambition got me where I am. I didn't rely on somebody to give me a job because of my color, or hook me up because I'm black, or give me the benefit of the doubt at Louis Vuitton or wherever because I was black. Right. He says, I 100% believe that he believes who I am as a person, not necessarily my skin color, is what defines and what's driven and what's got me to where I am today. Right. I believe that wholeheartedly. But the problem is, for him to say as a matter of fact, politics is a magic trick. And don't you want to be hired because of your merit and not the color of your skin? That don't apply to everybody. And it certainly doesn't apply to the people in that room. So my thing is, it's like, sir, read the room. If you want to go to Louis Vuitton and say that to some well-to-do folks, have at it. But you talking to some black and brown people in the state of Florida
for entrepreneurship,
and to say, all that matters is merit in the state of Florida, of all places. It's like
Florida.
I'm like,
freaking Florida, man.
Have your thoughts, have your opinions. Just read the room, man.
Right. And I just hope that those people walk away.
Melody Hobson was sitting on the stand with him when he said it, and I couldn't read whether or not she was like, what? Or was she like, yeah. For those who don't know, she's like a super
financial wizard.
Yeah. Mega multimillionaire, if not almost a billionaire.
Married to George Lucas.
Right. Married to George Lucas. So she is a superpower in her own right. And also possibly
with her partner.
and also possibly removed from all the things. So for her sitting up there, again, I couldn't read her expressions, but my speculation is that, he's talking to the right person, but not addressing the right crowd.
Right. This is maybe a conversation that you have in a room of other millionaires and not in a room of aspiring millionaires.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People still struggling. They still, startup founders and tech wizards and all
cashing out their 401ks to try and build their startup.
Yeah. If they believe what he's pitching, then good luck to y'all.
Good freaking luck. But again, he got a thrashing around social media. I don't think he'll care. No. He's probably moved on from this and not even thinking about it.
He's removed from viewing comments on social media. This is like, that's your dude. It's okay.
It's okay.
Be above this, but don't act like everybody's above this.
Right. Don't act like everybody is in the same situation.
Now we're trying to get there. I'm trying to get to a point to where whether Republican or Democrat, it ain't
don't bother me
directly. Right. Now I'm going to speak up for my mom and my dad and my brothers and sisters and friends and all these other people who haven't gotten to where I'm not going to just be like, oh, well, good luck for y'all.
Sucks for you.
That's kind of how it sounds. Where how he said it, though, I interpret it as, man, that's crazy.
Sucks to be you, man.
The politics, man, that's crazy.
Right?
Like, sir.
Like, what are you talking about? Come on now. So yeah. Oh God. That's why people hate rich people. And on the other hand, you have somebody like Mackenzie Scott,
Oh, the lady
Jeff
giving,
Bezos's
yeah,
ex-wife,
giving the
who's given
millions
out a total of like
HBCUs.
$700 million to
Yeah.
HBCUs.
Hmm.
And people are like, oh, they should name, buildings or name a university. That lady don't care about that. She got all this money that she can't possibly spend
Well,
in 5 lifetimes. So she's
it's
like, what the hell I care? I'm gonna give it away.
we idolize rich folks
Yeah.
entirely too much,
Yeah.
to whether they were like the fact that they were considering naming anything or having a conversation. It's like she gave the money, say thank you, and keep
And
it
take your
moving.
money and go on. Let
This
that lady do her business and you do yours.
We idolize
Yeah.
the rich and famous entirely too much.
And God forbid it's a white person doing something for a black person. Then it's just like, oh, you get invited to the cookout. No, nobody comes to the cookout.
Say thank you. Say
Just
thank
say
you.
thank you and buy
Golly.
the food for the cookout and keep going.
Golly, man.
It's just, oh, it's infuriating. Anyway, that's gonna wrap up for the culture. Let's head into the hookup for our tech tip of the week.
Yep, and I don't have anything major this week, but if you are a Apple Card user, you may want to look into shopping at either Ace Hardware or booking.com, the place where you can book hotels and resorts and all that good stuff. Because Apple right now, for a limited time, that expires on December 5th, Apple Card users who shop at Ace Hardware and booking.com can get a 5% cash back at those two stores, which is super high for cash back.
Yep.
If you think about Amex, at the most, they're giving 2-3% on, whether you shop, depending on whatever the program is, right?
Yeah.
Ain't too many places offering 5%. So that's why I wanted to bring it to your attention. Now, of course, there's a cap. There's a $500 cap, so you can't go spending thousands of dollars on your resort and expect to get 5% cash back, or you buying an HVAC system from Ace Hardware, expect to get 5% cash back. There is a $500 cap, and like I mentioned, it does expire December 5th, which is about 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Maybe. So you've got some time. If there's some items you want to pick up at Ace Hardware, like a Christmas tree, I'm looking for
Some decorations.
I'm looking for a lawnmower right now. So I may hop on over to Ace Hardware and pick up a used lawnmower and get my little 5% cash back. So, but that's my hookup for the week. If you are an Apple Card user, you can get 5% cash back at Ace Hardware and booking.com. Again, $500 cap, and the promotion expires December 5th.
Nice. And with that, it's going to wrap up the show for this week. Brother Tech, where can the people find you?
Sure, you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH.
And you can find me at Tech Savvy Diva all over the interwebs. And you can find our show at SnobbleWestCast on all the socials as well. You can also head on over to SnobbleWestCast.com to get all the details about how to connect with us, how to comment, how to share, and how to support the show. And with that, we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Bye, everybody.